welcome again to our Ayurveda talk as we are still in Vata season, winter, and we are trying to do everything we can to help us balance this time of the year. So fall and winter is Vata season. And so I'm going to break down a bunch of different seasonal things, but when we look at what's ideal for food, Ayurveda is always going to be looking at what is seasonal. But when it comes to how you feed yourself, the first thing that Ayurveda considers is your dosha, your actual dosha. That is your constitution, your dominant constitution. And that is based on what you were actually born with. So your particular physical constitution, you inherited from your mom and your dad, and that gives you certain tendencies in how you move through the world, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And if you are a Vata person, that's your dominant dosha, or you have a Vata imbalance and you're moving into winter time, which is Vata season, you might notice your Vata increasing. So we have been doing videos on how to help Vata, how to help manage it in the wintertime. And now we're going to look at foods that are ideal for Vata. So first of all, the first thing you want to do is you want to figure out, for wherever you live, what are the seasonal foods that grow locally where you live. You want to eat based on the season and, as much as possible, what is locally grown. It is what's going to be ideal for you. It's kind of the same idea as if you have allergies. A lot of times people will search out local honey because you are getting all of the enzymes in that honey from the pollen in the trees around you where you live. So your ability to then build up those antibodies in your body through eating foods that are from that local area, that gets increased. So you have a better chance of being able to fight off any kind of allergies that might be floating around because you are consuming the food that is locally grown. So it helps you be a lot more immune to whatever's in the air because you literally are building up in your actual tissues what comes from that particular area. So as much as possible, eat locally. All right, let's look at Vata foods. So Vata foods are ideal for Vata constitution. If you have a Vata imbalance, you might want to also consider Vata foods. And if you're in Vata season, typically a lot of these foods, that's when they're in season. So some of those foods that are in season right now are going to be apples and pears, citrus fruits like oranges and lemons and limes. Also, kiwis and pomegranates, grapefruit, persimmons, and cranberries are typically, those are seasonal items that are in the wintertime. Those are usually coming into fruition. Okay, vegetables are beets and Brussels sprouts, cabbage, celery, the greens, so lettuces and collard greens, kale, leeks, potatoes, turnips, parsnips, squash, winter squash, arugula, chard, cucumbers, broccoli, carrots, garlic, onions, peas, and spinach. Those are winter seasonal items. Okay, so here's the thing. Not all of those items are good for Vata. And we are trying to reduce Vata in the winter time. It's Vata season. So when you have Vata and you have a Vata lifestyle and a Vata diet, and then you are in a Vata season, it's going to push your Vata and increase your Vata. What happens when you have increased Vata? It means you have increased ether and air. How does that show up? Well, anxiety levels are going to go up. Nervous system issues are going to go up. Fear is going to start coming up. Sometimes you might feel more paranoid. You might feel more frenetic. And that's the opposite of what we want when we're moving into wintertime. Truly, that kind of feeling that you get in winter where you kind of want to hunker down and have more comfort food, it's instinctually because that's really what's ideal for this season. So there is a whole food list for Vata. And when I am working with clients, I will give them the food list. And it's several pages. And it goes and breaks everything down. Now, when we are working at changing our diet, it takes time, right? Most of us are pretty addicted to our lifestyle and our food. You can't just expect changes overnight. You don't get benefits from working out of the gym overnight. So it has to be a little bit at a time. But I want to just kind of give you a general idea of the foods that help support Vata. Dairy is one of those things that supports Vata, ghee. And if you are having dairy, it is never, ever cold. It is always warm. So golden turmeric milk is a wonderful thing that you can have at night. It'll support sleep. It'll support calming the nervous system. If you are going to have Vata nourishing oils, like I said, ghee is going to help with that, but it's going to help Vata with hydration and dryness. That's a big issue for Vata. And Vata season is going to cause dehydration and dryness. So it's a really important time to help that. By nourishing Vata, you're going to help the plasma, you're going to help the body fat, you're going to help the reproductive organs. Okay, so those oils are going to be, like I said, ghee, sesame oil, and almond oil. Those are ideal. Those are best. You can have small amount of avocado, castor, coconut, flaxseed, mustard, peanut, and sunflower, and completely avoid the canolas, all the grape seed. Those are produced in a way that are not healthy for any dosha. And also stay away from safflower. Okay, so when we are looking at the different fruits that you can have oranges. Those are so great for Vata. Not so good for Pitta and Kapha, but fantastic for Vata because they're sour and sweet. And those are one of the two tastes that help support Vata. They're going to help with thirst. They're going to help with dehydration. So oranges are great. I know that when my kids were young and they were doing sports, parents would always bring sliced oranges, cold sliced oranges, and they were delicious. I don't see that so much anymore. We need to go back to that. Vegetables are always cooked for Vata because Vata has a harder time digesting. But Vata can have a really nice variety of these winter seasonal items. Very good for Vata is like beets, carrots, but not juiced, leeks, the greens, cooked, onions, but very cooked, well cooked. They can have the parsnips and the squash, all the different kinds of squash. They can have sweet potatoes and a huge variety. They can have cauliflower, broccoli, cucumber, kale, mushrooms, spinach. Now, here's the thing. Vata and Pitta both have to watch out for nightshades. If you do not know what nightshades are, I think I mentioned this a long time ago. I remember listening to a podcast, and the podcast person was saying, well, what's the deal with nightshades? I don't get it. Why are nightshades bad? And the person on the other end didn't have an answer. And I was like, nightshades increase heat. They increase heat. So you just have to be careful with nightshades. Not always good for Vata sometimes, and definitely not good for Pitta. So potatoes are one of those items that is a nightshade that can actually take all the doshas out of balance. In Ayurveda, the best way to eat potatoes is curried. So you have your potatoes cooked and then you use curry with your potatoes. And then that breaks them down and makes them easier to digest. Okay, so those are some of the things that, like, food items that we're going to address for Vata. And having that Vata food list can be helpful. I also want to break down some of the seasonal tips that are just going to kind of help you understand how Ayurveda looks at the seasons. First of all, the seasons are broken down into Vata season, which is what we're in right now, fall, winter. And then you have spring, which is Kapha season. And then you have summer, which is your Pitta season. Okay, now, when we are in the winter time, you want to eat foods and herbs that are not cold or drying, right? Because think about the qualities of winter. The qualities of winter are increasing. What's in the atmosphere? What's in the atmosphere right now is actually what Vata is. Vata is ether and air. So the qualities of ether and air are increasing and dominating our atmosphere in the fall and the winter. We do not want to increase that by eating cold things and dry things. So everything should be more moist and nourishing. Okay, so eat foods and herbs according to the season. Really important, really important. And we're in wintertime, so no cold, no dry, no harsh foods. Now, I want to also break down, I have a little bit more information that I want to give you. Now, seasonal diet should be based on one's dosha. That is the primary thing. We talked about that right at the beginning of this video. The second thing that you want to consider is the seasons. Now, Ayurveda breaks down the Vata, Pitta, Kapha seasons into 6 sections. They're considered 6 sub-seasons. These are the cool and dewy season. That is between mid-January and mid-March. Spring is actually from mid-March to mid-May. Summer is from May to July. Rainy season is from July to September. Autumn is from September, mid-September to mid-November. And then winter is from mid-November to January, mid-January. Okay, so they break it down into these 6 different seasons. Okay, we're going to only talk about winter, which is Vata season, and you avoid Vata increasing, light foods, wind, cold drinks. You eat more steamed meals and dress warmly. Cover your head. The digestive fire is much higher during this season, making heavier foods more easily digestible. So those comfort foods are ideal during this time. If you have inadequate amounts of food or eaten, the Agni will burn up the body's plasma. So we don't want that. It literally dehydrates you. So the Agni is the digestive fire. So sugarcane, rice, oils, hot water, milk products, they all promote longevity and support Vata. Remember, always warm. when you're in this season, raw honey, sour, salty tastes can also be suggested, especially if you have a Vata imbalance or you are dealing with high Vata, because that's your dominant dosha. Okay, getting your oiled massage and having heat from a steam room or sauna, also ideal during this season. Daily abhyanga, your daily oiling, is important during this time of the year. If you're not doing that, start incorporating that. During this season, physical expressions of love between married couples is healthy, and according to Ayurveda, one's house should be kept warm and drafts should be avoided, right? Because that's going to increase Vata. Now, late winter, we're going to also talk about, because that's right after, so that's your cold, dewy season. That's still considered winter, and it's a little more intense. And you want to make sure that you are staying warm. That means in your clothing and in your home environment. Sweet, sour, salty foods can be eaten during this time. Pungent, bitter, astringent, light, cold are all going to increase Vata, so we avoid them. We also avoid food and drinks that are cold. Kapha accumulates during this season. So kapha, remember, is earth and water. Now it's starting to accumulate during the cool, dewy season. And dampness and cold, wind, clouds, and rain might start accumulating in your own tissues. So at this time, during the northern solstice, the winds will begin to deplete your strength. So you want to be paying attention to that Vata foods and seasonal foods that are going to help keep you nourished. It's a lot more complicated than we think, but then it's not. Really, if we can just align ourselves with what nature is already doing, then we will be healthy. We're instinctually, if you can stay connected to your natural environment, be in nature, be on the earth, get your feet on the ground. If you can do those things, you will naturally, instinctively feel what needs to be eaten for your body. You'll just crave it. All right? Get all the processed foods out of your diet. Eliminate processed sugars, all that stuff needs to be eliminated from your diet. And caffeine really is not good for Vata. So get caffeine out. Absolutely no alcohol either. That also is going to increase Vata and Pitta. Drugs are also not helpful because they're going to really affect your nervous system and increase the Vata again. Okay, so that is our talk for today. A little bit longer than normal, but helpful because we're in this season. We're really trying to balance a dosha that gets pushed out of balance really easily. Very easy to push Vata out of balance because it's not stable. It's ether and air. Very easy to push out of balance. And so you might notice it going out of balance more easily for you if you do have a lot of Vata going on in your body right now. Okay, so reach out to me if you're interested in an individual consultation. Otherwise, I hope this talk was supportive for you. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Have a wonderful day.